Good morning all. I'm Disha Binakar standing up for you to present the seminar on topic what is democracy, why democracy. Before going to the depth in chapter, let us know types of government. There are mainly four kinds of government: monarchy, dictatorship, military, and democracy. Monarchy government is a form of government where the head of the state belongs to the royal family. Here, the people don't get the power to elect their representatives. The members who are born in the royal family automatically get crown themselves as a king or queen of that particular estate. The second form of government is dictatorship. It is the most cruel government in the world. In this form of government, a dictator is the head of the government. He or she has the supreme power, and no one has the right to protest his or her rule or can give their opinion on the same. The third form of government is military. In this form of government, an army head is the political head of a government. Here too, people don't have the right to say anything against, if anything goes against them. But the fourth form of government is democracy. It is the best form of government in the world. Democracy has come from the Greek origin word, demos and kratia. Demos means people and kratia means people. In simple words, we can say that democracy is people's rule. If we get into the proper definition, democracy is a form of government where the peoples have the right to choose their representatives. In this form of government, people are the supreme. They may not be directly the supreme power, but indirectly they are responsible for the smooth running of the government. In this form of government, the head of the state is changed every 5 or 6 years. Our India is known as the most developed democracy in the world. Democracy is generally of two types: direct democracy and indirect democracy. Direct democracy is the form of democracy where people gather all together and elect who should be the head of the government. In these direct democracy generally applies to a country where the population is not much. Example, Switzerland. The second form of democracy is indirect democracy. Indirect democracy is the form of democracy where we the people indirectly elect the head of the state by giving votes. India is one of the best examples of indirect democracy. So, as we are learning about democracy, there are certain criteria. All the countries which are they are having rules and they have elections doesn't mean that they are democracy. For a democratic government, there are certain criteria. For certain criteria, let us come across four stories, case studies. First, first, first we come across Pakistan. In 1999, General Pervez Musharraf thrown out the democratically elected government in Pakistan and declared himself as the chief executive of the country. Later, in 2000, he changed his designation from chief executive to the president and he extended 5 years of his warranty. Later in 2002, he created an amendment so that no people are able to oppose him or take any actions against him. In this amendment, he made several changes in the constitution of Pakistan so that people would have no rights and all the powers rested upon him and other military units. The final power does not headed with the one who had been elected by the people. The final power headed upon the military officials and of course General Parvez Musharraf himself. From this, we can conclude that all the countries which are having elections doesn't mean that they are democratic. So from here, we get the first criteria of democracy. That is, in a democracy, the people are able to choose their representatives and the elected representatives are the head of the government. Second example, in second case, we'll come across China and Mexico. National People's Congress had consecutive elections was in the gap of 5 years. The people were having elections, but the one who had to contest elections must take the permission from the Chinese Communist Party. The party which comes under Chinese Communist Party, the members who are of the Chinese Communist Party and other 8 sub-parties under the Chinese Communist Party are only allowed to contest the elections. Let's come to the example of Mexico. In Mexico, a party known as PRI, that is Institution PRI, was like in power. First, the Mexican government got its independence from the white minority rule in 1930. Since 1930, Mexico have been having its elections in every 6 years. But in the year 1999 to 2000, in this particular period, a party called PRI came in power, which was very famous for its dirty tricks. Every time during elections, people had elections, but at the end moment, the election booths or the booths where the votes were given were exchanged. Teachers forced the parents of students studying in government schools to vote for PRI. The media strongly opposed the opposition and only showed what PRI was. The PRI was not only famous for its cheating but also for its dirty tricks. So, from here, we come across the second feature of democracy. That is, in a democracy, everyone, there should be a free and fair election, and each representative must have a fair chance of winning and losing, and the party which was previously in power must have the fair chance of losing. Now we'll come across many examples that will give us more about the third feature of democracy. That is, first we'll come across Estonia. In Estonia, the rules were made in such way that the Russian minority didn't have the right to vote. In Saudi Arabia, till 2015, women didn't have the right to vote. In Fiji, the electoral system was such strict that the Indian Fijian minority didn't have the right to vote. So from here, we come across the third feature of democracy, that is, every citizen or every adult have one vote, and that one vote has only one right. Now we come across a country, South African country called Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, it attained its independence from the Britishers in 1980. After 1980, its leader, ZANU-PF, from the party ZANU-PF, was Robert Mugabe. He was the independent leader and was the president since 1980. Like the case of Mexico, he also was famous for its dirty tricks. He had amended the constitution more than 10 times, only to increase its power and to dominate people. There, the people were harassed. The media who were against him also got severe punishments. After all, the people had the power. People, although didn't have the power, people got frustrated and in 2017, they executed Mugabe. So from here, we come across the fourth feature of democracy. That is, every citizen has its own power and its law protected by a constitution. Features, we can clearly say that each and every country who has elections or has its own representatives elected by people cannot be called a democracy. A country can only be called democracy who can come across these features. But still, some people think that democracy is a stable government, some think that democracy is not stable. So let's come across some arguments for democracy and arguments against democracy. So let's come arguments for democracy. In a democracy, people have the power to elect their representatives, and if they are not satisfied with the rule of the government, they can change it. And after all, democracy does not gives the power like dictatorship or so. It is for a limited power. It is for a limited time duration. So if people are not like satisfied with the rule or the ruler, then they can change the government. Second, in a democracy, each citizen has its own right, protected by a constitution. If any of their rights is violated, they can go across the court and file against the fundamental rights. And they can file a case that their fundamental rights has been violated. Then we can say that democracy is a way in which people can like easily solve the methods. As democracy involves a government with discussions. In parliament, there are discussions between the opposition and the party group. So with this discussion, the conflicts and all the problems can get solved easily. Now, let's come across the arguments against democracy. Some people think that democracy is not the ideal form of government. This is because in democracy, the leaders keep changing. So they think that this leads to political instability. And secondly, democracy is all about bribes and political competitions. So there is no sort of morality in it. Then comes that in a democracy, like there are many people who need to be consulted and like have a discussion. So this leads to a loss of time. But in my view, I just want to say that although you think that democracy is not the ideal form of government, that doesn't mean that democracy is not the best one. In democracy, you get all those features that you do not get in other features in other forms of government. So in this way, we must not be that much insecure and unstable, which may lead to any bad decision. Like I can take the example of North Korea. Like people were not satisfied with the democracy rule there, so they choose for dictatorship. Dictatorship. Now what? They are suffering. They are suffering in dictatorship. So we shall never take any decision with any kind of decision like without thinking or analyzing it so that it may hamper our future and our country's future. With this, I conclude my presentation. Choose their representative.
Some important features of
Democracy, the people have the right to choose their representatives, and the one who has been chosen by the people is named as the head of the state. Second, there must be free and fair election, and the party currently in power have a chosen. Each person have one vote back value. Then all the citizens are protected by a constitution and laws.
some demerits of democracy.
The leaders in democracy keep on changing, so it leads to political instability. Democracy involves discussion among all, so this leads to loss of time.
And did Zimbabwe attain its democracy, its independence from white man?
In the year 1980,
Yes, The gas party of China always forms the government in
Communist party. Democracy is a form of government of elected. People have the power to elect their representatives.
what are the features of democracy?
In democracy, the people have the power to elect their government, and the one elected by the people have is crowned as the head of the government. Then there should be free and fair election, and the party currently in charge has the fair chance of losing. Each person has one vote, and each vote has one ballot. Robert Mugabe was the independent ruler as well as the president of Zimbabwe and a leader from Zambia.
Form of PRA.
Institutional Revolutionary Party.
Saudi Arabia being the last women do not have the right to vote.
In 2015, which former government was also take part in politics. Democracy. What is democracy? Democracy is a form of government where people have the right to choose their representatives. You women of Saudi Arabia have the right to vote. No, they didn't have the right to vote till 2015, but now they have the right. The gas of China always forms the government of China. The Communist Party of China. What are the features of democracy? The people have the power to elect their representatives, and the one elected by the people is crowned as the head of the government. Then there should be free and fair election in democracy, and the party currently in power has fair chance of losing. Then each adult citizen has one vote, and each school has one right. What the activities played the dirty tricks played by PRI was that the students who were reading in government schools, the teachers forced their parents to vote for PRI. Then at the end moment, polling booths were changed. Media only showed the demerits of the opposition. The media they hid the dirty tricks played by PRI. In Saudi Arabia, women did not have the right to vote till 2015. What is democracy? Democracy is a form of government where people have the right to choose their representatives. Why do we need democracy? We need democracy so that people do not feel insecure and people can live freely and happily. Who was General Pervez Musharraf? General Pervez Musharraf was a military leader who formed the government in Pakistan in 1998. What is the name of the Communist the Communist Party? Gandhi, Gandhi, features of democracy. Democracy, the people have the right to choose their representatives, and the one elected by the people is the head of the state. Then you have there should be free and fair elections in democracy, and the party currently in power has fair chances. It has one vote, and each of his or her vote has one vote. Then all the citizens' rights and fundamental liberties are protected by a constitution and laws. What were the dirty tricks of the PRI used to like shift the polling booths at the end moment. Then the students who were learning in college, they used to force their parents to vote for PRI. The media used to hit the good things of opposition rather than focusing more than on like bad features and all. Minor argument against democracy is that democracy needs to stability as leaders keep on changing. Democracy involves the decision making of so many people, so it leads to a in Saudi Arabia, when women did not have the right to vote in 2015, these two features of democracy. Democracy, the people have the right to elect the representatives, and the one elected by the people is the head of the government. What was the referendum of 2002 in Pakistan based on? It was based on dirty tricks and especially Pervez Musharraf tried to amend the constitution so that he could have more power and people don't have the right to vote. What are the three involves the discussion of many people. So, like it's a waste of time. What is the type of government where the internet remain in power whenever they want? Dictatorship. What makes democracy more accountable? Democracy is a form of government where people have the right to elect the representatives, and if so they are not satisfied with the rule, they can change it. So here people indirectly have the supreme right. So democracy is more accountable. Who was the leader of Zimbabwe in 2017? Robert Mugabe. What is China's parliament known as? National Communist Party of Congo NP Naihu Dai. Give one example of a country where monarchism is practiced. England. Give examples of democracy where this practiced other than the law. Democracy is practiced in the example of USA, India, Russia. There are four kinds of government. The four kinds of government are dictatorship, monarchy, military rule, and democracy. In Saudi Arabia, women did not have the right to vote in 2015. Which form of government requires all citizens to take part in politics? Democracy. When did Zimbabwe attain independence from white minority? In 1980. After which regular intervals, elections are held in China for electing the country's parliament. In every 5 years. Arguments for democracy is that democracy is, as Abraham Lincoln said, democracy is a form of government by the people, for the people, and of the people. So here, people have the supreme rights. They have the right to elect the government, and if so, they are not satisfied, they can change the government. Secondly, people's rights and laws are protected by by a constitution. So, if any fundamental rights of any people is violated, then he or she can approach the court. Decent privileges of members. The people have the right to elect their representatives, and the one elected by the people is considered the head of the parliament or the government. Then there should be free and fair elections in democracy. The one currently in power has fair chance of losing. Then each adult citizen has one vote, and each officer one vote has one member. Democracy is a form of government where people have the right to elect their representatives. Which the general constitution had a referendum in the year 2002. How many members are elected to the National People's Congress of 3,400? After which regular intervals election are held in China for electing countries. In every 5 years, elections are when did Zimbabwe then independent from white minority? In the year 1980, which form of government is considered as the democracy. What does a candidate need before contesting elections in China? In a democracy, the final decision must rest with those leaders or representatives who are dashed. What is peculiar about Zambia? The one of the main features of democracy is that it rules within the limits set by the constitution, law above dash. The one of the main features of a democratic government is that it rules within the limits set by the constitutional law above dash. Citizens' rights. Why does a democratic government make it better than any other form of government? What does a democracy refer? face challenges to democracy. Economic equality among people and abolition of caste. Identify this form of government. It is a system in which only those who are in power and their supporters are benefited and excludes minorities and weaker sections. It is a system in which only those who are in power and their supporters are benefited and it excludes minorities and weaker sections. Leadership. The strength of a democracy is its ability to uphold the values for which it stands for. What are these values? Freedom, equality, and justice. Who led the military coup in Pakistan in 1999? When did Zimbabwe attain independence from and from whom? In which year did China face one of the worst famines that have occurred in the world? In which year did China face one of the worst famines that have occurred in the world? 1958 to 1960. What is the most common form of democracy in the modern world? What is the most common form of democracy in the modern world? Hmm. What is the most common form of democracy? Like, which form of democracy is found most in the world? It's derived representative democracy. Democracy improves the quality of decision making because
People have the right to vote and live their life.